Here is the thing nobody tells you about assassinations. The bullet is never the story. What happens after the bullet? The panic, the grief, the power vacuum, the person who steps in next, the decision made in rage, the peace deal that never gets signed. That is where history actually changes. A trigger gets pulled, and the world becomes something else. Let's talk about 4 moments where a single death didn't just end a life. It ended an era, and started a new one that nobody asked for. 1. Julius Caesar, 44 BC. 23 senators. 1 man. 23 stab wounds. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, Julius Caesar walked into the theater of Pompey for a Senate meeting and was surrounded by men he trusted. Men he had pardoned after civil war. Men who called themselves his friends. Brutus was there. So was Cassius. So were 21 others. They had convinced themselves they were saving the Roman Republic from a tyrant. They were wrong. Caesar died on the floor. The Republic died with him, not because of what the senators did, but because of what happened next. Rome collapsed into 17 more years of civil war. Caesar's adopted son Octavian eventually emerged victorious and became Augustus, the first Roman emperor. The very thing the senators killed Caesar to prevent. They killed a dictator. They created an empire. The Roman Empire that followed would last 500 years in the West and over 1,000 in the East. Its legal system, language, architecture, and political structure became the bones of Western civilization. All of it built on the ruins of the Republic that 23 men tried to save. By killing Caesar, they made the world Rome built impossible to undo. 2. Abraham Lincoln, 1865. The Civil War ended on April 9, 1865. 5 days later, John Wilkes Booth walked into Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., and shot the president in the back of the head. Lincoln died the following morning. Here is what most people miss about this assassination. The timing was catastrophic in a way that has nothing to do with Lincoln personally. He had spent the final weeks of the war planning Reconstruction, the process of bringing the defeated Southern states back into the Union. His plan was designed around mercy, reconciliation, moving forward. His successor, Andrew Johnson, had a different idea. Johnson was lenient on Southern leaders, vetoed civil rights legislation, and allowed former Confederate states to pass black codes, laws that effectively reinstated slavery in everything but name. The Reconstruction that followed Lincoln's vision was gutted. The civil rights movement that America needed in 1865 didn't fully arrive until 100 years later. 1 bullet. A century of delay. 3. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, 1914. June 28, 1914. Sarajevo. A 19-year-old Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip had already failed to kill the Archduke once that morning. A bomb thrown at his motorcade bounced off the car and exploded under the vehicle behind. Princip gave up. He went to get something to eat at a nearby deli. The Archduke's driver, now taking a different route, made a wrong turn. He stopped the car to reverse, directly in front of the deli where Princip was standing. Princip stepped out. 2 shots. Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were both dead within the hour. What followed was not inevitable. Europe in 1914 was a continent of alliances, each one triggered by the others. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia. France was drawn in. Britain entered when Germany invaded Belgium. In 5 weeks, a wrong turn in Sarajevo had ignited a world war. 17 million people died. Then the punishing peace terms imposed on the losers helped create the conditions for the Second World War, in which 70 to 85 million more would die. 1 young man at a deli. 2 wrong turns. A century of catastrophe. 4. Mahatma Gandhi, 1948. On January 30, 1948, Mahatma Gandhi was walking through the garden of Birla House in New Delhi to lead his evening prayer. A man named Nathuram Godse stepped forward, bowed slightly, and fired 3 shots at point-blank range. Gandhi died within minutes. Gandhi had led India's non-violent independence movement for decades and watched the country he'd freed fracture violently into India and Pakistan, a partition he had opposed. He had been fasting to stop the Hindu-Muslim violence that was tearing the new nation apart. Godse killed him because he believed Gandhi was too sympathetic to Muslims. Gandhi's death did one thing immediately. It shocked India into momentary stillness. The violence slowed. The man who'd preached nonviolence his entire life created his most powerful argument for it in the moment of his death. But what the world lost was more than a man. It lost a methodology. A living, walking, breathing proof that power could be challenged without violence and won. No leader since has managed what Gandhi managed. Not with the same tools. Not with the same results. The bullet silenced the most powerful argument in the history of human conflict. The thread. 4 people. 4 bullets. 4 different worlds that came after. Caesar's senators thought they were ending a dynasty. They created one. Lincoln's assassin thought he was striking a blow for the South. He guaranteed the South would be treated far more harshly. Princip thought he was striking a blow for Serbian freedom. He killed 17 million people and set up the conditions for 17 million more. Godse thought he was punishing Gandhi for betraying Hindus. He turned Gandhi into the most powerful symbol of nonviolent resistance in human history. The killers never got what they wanted. The bullet is never the story. What the world does with the silence after the shot, that is where history lives.